It's been a long association, you parasite of our father. But it's time to say goodbye.
My brother, who I hadn't seen for 5 years, calmly declared this to me. His voice still had that intimidating tone I remembered. Beside him, his wife Jennifer looked satisfied, smiling as she enjoyed the exchange of words between my brother and me.
Kate is now an adult. Perhaps it's time for her to stand on her own 2 feet.
Realizing that reasoning with these people was futile, I thought about my next move. Then I calmly replied, "Understood." Jennifer, looking pleased, and asked,
"Great. So, we can use this luxurious apartment, right?"
She hugged my brother, James, excitedly. With a smug look, James spread his arms and boasted loudly,
Living in such a magnificent place, I'm sure more good fortune will come our way.
While I could understand the pride in obtaining a residence through one's efforts simply being a freeloader doesn't warrant such luck, I shook my head in disbelief, deciding internally not to get involved in whatever came next, and pondered my next living situation. My name is Kate. At 32, I have experience as an investor. I entered the world of investment under the influence of my wealthy father. After receiving basic guidance from him, I quickly became engrossed, often neglecting my studies to invest from my room. As a result, I only have a high school diploma, but I don't regret my path in investment. My older brother, James, always derided me with harsh words.
The failure of a sister.
The words he spewed were always unpleasant to me. James once attended a mediocre private college but surprisingly dropped out due to boredom, diving into the world of male strip clubs. Everyone acknowledged James's attractiveness to women. Hence, his success as a stripper was inevitable. As a stripper, he drastically increased the strip club's revenue, earned the club owner's trust, and was even entrusted with managing a new branch. James's strip club saw immense success, and he earned a considerable income. Every time he returned home, he would boast, and our mother enjoyed listening to him. Although he wastefully spent our parents' money on college tuition, I sometimes wanted to reprimand James. My straightforward and plain nature didn't seem ideal to my mother. She would occasionally look at me with pity, advising,
"You're so plain. Try to dress more like a girl and be cuter."
While I used to have lively discussions about investing with my father, he struggled to keep up with modern digitization. Ultimately, intuition is what matters in these matters. Saying this, he seemed to be on a path that, from my perspective, was quite risky. To be honest, my relationship with my mother wasn't very good. In the past, I considered living on my own. However, as my name becomes more widely recognized as a female investor, ensuring privacy has become increasingly important. Therefore, I feel living alone is risky, and continue to live with my parents. Moreover, my desire to live in a safer environment has grown stronger. And from an investment standpoint, I decided to purchase a luxury apartment. This decision was carefully considered, seeking future safety and comfort. James mistakenly thought my father bought the apartment and came to our house excited when we moved.
You did something amazing, Dad.
Well, yes.
He responded. Not wanting to get involved in any trouble, I remained silent. However, I couldn't imagine at that time that this event would later lead to unforeseeable problems. James and Jennifer got married 5 years before we moved to the luxury apartment. James was 29 and Jennifer was 27. She wasn't from the nightlife industry, but was a model James got to know through a friend's introduction. To be honest, I didn't like Jennifer very much. Although she seemed to care about her appearance, there was something lacking in refinement.
"Really?"
she exclaimed, smiling.
"I thought you were like 5 years older."
The words from her mouth had a mocking tone, and combined with the cheap scent of her perfume, they brought an unsettling atmosphere to the room. On the other hand, Jennifer completely won over my mother, behaving in a very friendly manner.
"Karen, that dress looks wonderful on you. You have such good taste."
She showered her with flattery, and my mother was captivated by Jennifer's charm.
"Let's go shopping together next time."
she suggested, and the two of them got excited. My father also had a favorable impression of Jennifer, and I became an outcast in the family. These four seemed to bask in their self-satisfaction, thinking they were a wonderful family. The couple visited the house frequently after their marriage. However, one day, James ended up borrowing money from my father.
Now that I'm married, I want to quit the strip club and start a new bar. Can you help me with that?
As he asked, my father seemed puzzled. Then, Jennifer made her appearance, also pleading with my father.
Robert, I also ask you. I believe James can surely make it a success.
She looked up at my father with pleading eyes. Ultimately, my father lent him nearly $300,000.
With this, I can start my shop.
He was full of hope and excitement. However, afterward, contact with James ceased and events took an unexpected turn. No matter how long we waited, there was no contact from James. The apartment once shared by James was vacated by the couple without my knowledge. Where James and Jennifer went was completely unknown to me. Both my parents tried hard to find them. But in the end, they couldn't even gather bits of information. My mom was particularly concerned about James's well-being. Due to the anxiety, she barely slept and was tormented day and night. I took care of the household chores, looked after my mother, and spent my days waiting for a message from the couple. Those days lasted for 5 years, and I was now 32 years old. My mother still worried about James's whereabouts. But we started to feel the limitations of continuing the search. Then, we suddenly got a call from James.
It's me. Sorry for making you wait so long.
We heard James's cheerful voice on the other side. We were confused, but my mother, with a voice full of joy, asked him,
James, where are you now? Are you okay?
Tearfully she inquired.
I'm fine. The business didn't go as planned, and I couldn't see you guys.
James replied in a cheerful tone. Nodding in understanding, she said,
You didn't need to worry about that, silly boy.
Tears streamed down her face. Then, James changed the topic.
So, I heard you guys moved to a high-rise apartment. I want to visit. Can you give me the address?
Somehow, James wanted to know our address. We gave it to him, and the next day, he and his wife, Jennifer, visited our house. Both of them looked tan and healthy. My mom hugged James, overjoyed at his safety. Jennifer said to me,
Kate, long time no see. It's amazing, you haven't changed in 5 years. In a way, you haven't aged at all, right?
She said with a cheerful smile. I could only respond with a sigh. My parents were filled with joy, but a heavy emotion lingered in my heart. That day, we ordered luxurious takeout to celebrate my reunion with them.
By the way, James, where are you living now?
Well, this might be hard to say, but we're currently staying at a hotel. We don't have a place to go. We were wondering if we could possibly stay here. I'm really sorry to ask, but could you please accommodate us?
Well, if that's the case, I suppose we have no choice.
My dad glanced at me briefly, and I felt there was some hidden meaning behind his gaze.
Oh, because Jennifer is here, there might not be enough room, right?
I was about to say something in surprise, but Jennifer cut in.
Aren't you the same age as me, Kate? Isn't it a bit embarrassing to still be living at home and unmarried?
I heard from Mom earlier that you only do a bit of housework, and otherwise just stay in your room. I think that's questionable too.
I looked at my dad, but he said nothing, his expression indifferent.
Well, think of this as a good opportunity. You should move out. Stop leeching off our father.
As he said this, Jennifer grinned smugly next to him.
Well, Kate, you do need to become independent.
Realizing that arguing with everyone was futile, I silently nodded. Understood. On the other hand, Jennifer happily hugged my brother.
Yes, so we can live in this luxury apartment. If we live in a place like this, I feel our luck will turn around.
With a confident smile, James spoke with great confidence. In my heart, I thought, if you're living off someone else, I doubt luck will be on your side. Suppressing my exasperation, I started considering new places to move. Eventually, I left the house and moved to a secure one-bedroom apartment with a reasonable rent. Life had started there, and about 3 months had passed, I suppose. I received relentless calls from James, and many messages on the messaging app. Each message shocked me.
I got a debt collection letter from your proxy lawyer. What on earth is happening?
James expressed his anger and sent 2 consecutive messages. What do you mean? It's just as it says. I just want the money back that Dad lent you. James became even more agitated at my words.
Dad's bank statement looks strange. There's hardly any balance left. What on earth did you do?
James's voice trembled with anger. Why don't you ask Dad? After that, I decided not to reply to any of James's messages. However, as time went on, the tone of James's messages changed. At first, he was commanding. But as I continued to ignore him, James gradually revealed a different emotion.
Hey, are you alive? Please contact me.
And James's messages gradually became more desperate.
I received a property seizure warrant from the court. Dad keeps saying to ask you about it. What's going on?
In the end, a pleading message was sent from James.
Please, I beg you. Both Dad and Mom are worried.
The messages from James were surprisingly humble. They reflected the anxiety and regret hidden inside James.
Please come and see us once.
I could sense the internal struggle within James from those words. Although I found James's persistence a bit annoying, I decided to head to the apartment with my lawyer. When I arrived at the apartment, both my parents and my brother and his wife were there. In contrast to his previous messages, James angrily thrust some documents at me.
Hey, what the hell is this?
There was intense anger in James's voice.
What do you mean? We have a loan agreement between me and Dad, right?
I just claimed it because I couldn't get it back.
I've prepared everything, but was there any discrepancy?
James looked at his father with a surprised expression. Trembling, the father said.
These family IOUs are just formalities. Right.
He spoke with a hopeful tone. What are you talking about, Dad? I made this document from the beginning to ensure I wouldn't be taken advantage of. I countered firmly. I then thrust a bundle of IOUs at him. A staggering amount was written on those IOUs, reaching a total of $1 million. It was revealed that among them were the $300,000 that my father had lent to my brother in the past. Recalling my father's last words, I realized his frequent request to keep it a secret was related to this IOU. Despite staying silent, James examined the IOUs, looking at our father with an astonished expression.
Dad, was this amount also included? I thought it was money you earned.
James exclaimed. However, our father said nothing and just stood still. Meanwhile, Jennifer was also outraged by the situation.
Robert, this is too much. We never heard about any of this.
She exclaimed, implying that they were the victims. I couldn't help but speak out. After borrowing money and disappearing for 5 years. What are you even saying? I said, seemingly defending my father. Jennifer seemed momentarily puzzled, then said,
Well, we were just too busy to get in touch. But we do feel sorry.
I then showed photos on my smartphone, revealing more truth. By busy, do you mean gambling in Macau? I asked sarcastically. The photo displayed James and Jennifer cheerfully playing in a dazzling casino in Macau. As I showed the picture on my smartphone, James and Jennifer tried to snatch the device away from me. On the other hand, our parents watched in silent disbelief, not understanding what was happening. Turning my gaze to the couple, I showed photo after photo to our parents. This seems to be in Cebu, Philippines. It appears James and Jennifer had a great time there. With $300,000, they would have had more than enough to rent a luxurious home and enjoy themselves. I pointed out the joyful couple in the photos.
Did you come back here because you failed in your business?
My mom asked, her voice trembling. For a moment, James seemed taken aback but quickly replied with confidence.
That's right, Mom. I was just taking a break in between work. Don't think I was just playing around all the time. It's all a fabrication by Kate.
He emphasized his stance.
That's right, Karen. Don't be deceived. It's just a snapshot.
Jennifer also began to defend herself. I sighed. I could strongly feel the erosion of trust within the family due to these events. With a sharp tone, I declared, "After all, how can you trust people who go on a world cruise as soon as they borrow money?" At these words, James showed a confused expression, taken aback by the sudden accusation.
Why do you know that?
James inadvertently confessed the truth and immediately regretted it. But it was already too late. Both our father and mother stared sternly at the couple. Their faces a mix of shock and anger.
You've been doing such things?
My mom said in her rage.
James, what kind of person are you? Jennifer, why didn't you stop him?
The couple were bewildered about how to respond to this barrage of blame. Actually, since the time James borrowed money from our father and left, I had lost trust in him. I had hired a private investigator to monitor his actions. I knew from the investigator that they were using the borrowed money to travel the world. But I had kept silent about it, not wanting to worry my mother. I had hoped that the couple would contact us at some point, and had put the $270,000 they owed behind me, planning to live peacefully while taking care of our parents. I didn't care much about the couple, but I never forgot to be grateful to my parents, and wanted to repay their kindness. However, once my brother returned, my mother started treating me as a nuisance and was overly attentive to James. Father also readily believed whatever James said and didn't stand up for me. I was utterly dismayed. For over 10 years, I have been supporting the family financially. Especially since turning 20, after our father lost a lot in an investment. I had been the one covering the living expenses of the household. Despite all this, my efforts were not particularly appreciated. In fact, just before I turned 30, I was proposed to by a man. When I told my father that I was considering accepting the proposal and leaving home, he strongly objected.
If you leave, how will we survive? Absolutely not.
He raised his voice. Because of this, I had no choice but to decline the proposal, and was forced to stay at home. However, my brother and his wife insulted me, calling me a freeloader and a late bloomer, and plotted to kick me out. I endured the criticism and was determined to do everything for my family. But there was a limit to the attitude of my brother and his wife. Even when James returned, it seemed that my father wasn't defending me, but rather treating me as an inconvenience. Considering this situation, I decided to abandon my parents. I remembered the fable of the ant and the cicada. When I saw the days when I was laughing glamorously with my brother and his wife now tainted by quarrels. It was the moment the cicada, who had been playing around, felt the arrival of the cold winter. Well, that's the case. If the payment isn't made by the due date, I'll request the court for enforcement. The lawyer agreed with that statement.
We have billed you several times, but since we received no response, we had no choice but to proceed with the seizure. Please understand,
He said, humbly bowing his head. James stared at my father.
Dad, what are you planning to do?
He raised his voice. On the other hand, Jennifer clapped her hands.
That's right. If we sell this apartment, we can get $1 million, and we can easily make the payment, right?
She appealed with sparkling eyes to my father. My father slouched on the spot and lowered his eyes to the ground.
The apartment is under Kate's name.
He said in a soft voice. James and Jennifer couldn't hide their surprise and anger at those words. James suddenly raised his voice.
Why did you hide that? Dad, you never told me that.
Jennifer also showed her anger.
What's the deal? Seriously. You're always lying, Robert.
My father turned bright red and flailed his arms like a child.
Shut up. I don't want to hear it from you. You guys who ran away with the money, aren't you the big liars?
My mother cried, raising a voice of despair.
What is this? I don't know. I don't know anything.
James and Jennifer glanced at me. James approached me with a bit of hesitation.
Kate, we were wrong. We apologize. Can you forgive us?
But I calmly replied, "It's impossible. Don't rely on your useless younger sister. She coldly snapped. Jennifer then fell to her knees, desperately clinging to me. With tears in her eyes, she looked up at me, pleading earnestly.
Please. Kate. Don't abandon us.
Her face was a pitiful sight, with makeup smeared by tears. I felt disgusted and instinctively shook her off. Don't ever come near me again, I shouted, and the couple were at a loss for words, collapsing to their knees. I straightened my disheveled clothes, gave a nod, and left the high-rise apartment with the lawyer. The outside air was clear and everything that had happened inside felt almost dreamlike. Inside the taxi,
That was tough.
the lawyer said sympathetically. It's embarrassing. In a way, I was also careless. I brought this upon myself, I replied sheepishly.
It's not easy to sever ties with blood relatives. I think you did your best. Don't let them control you anymore.
The lawyer spoke in a gentle tone.
I hope you'll start a new life.
I had no words in response and realized I was crying. The lawyer noticed my tears but sat silently beside me, not looking my way. Later, both my parents and the couple declared bankruptcy, and the money never came back. I considered it an expensive lesson and decided to start a new one. Meanwhile, I heard my parents and the couple moved to a rundown apartment with no qualifications and no one to borrow money from. They all took on daily part-time jobs to make ends meet. According to a friend, they all looked incredibly worn out, like gaunt ghosts. Perhaps this is what's referred to as the fate of the grasshopper. When I was 30, a man who had proposed to me was still waiting for me. We got married, and now we live happily together. Or, to be precise, we're about to become a family of 3. Once our child is safely born, I plan to tell them the story of the ant and the cicada every night. I want to raise them in a way that prevents repeating the fate of our family.
Useless people have no place here. The text message that was delivered to my phone stated that I had been unexpectedly allocated just prior to the presentation. It's obvious that Travis, the department manager who emailed this, has no regard for the business. Most likely, his only goal is to disparage those he doesn't like. Travis is taking advantage of this chance to humiliate and destroy me because he despises me. But I can't afford to make a mistake here and hurt the business. With determination, I collect myself and begin presenting the product using the proper terminology. I'm lucky enough to succeed, but I can't give in to Travis's demands. I had already started a particular plan. Those things I trusted to a few people would be useful soon enough. I silently continued to record information for my eventual revenge, thinking of that moment. I'm Matthew, and this year was my 33rd birthday. My favorite things are productive work and cordial connections with my coworkers. Since I was in school, I have always engaged with a lot of people because I value relationships. Speaking with individuals from various backgrounds taught me a variety of viewpoints and thought processes that have been very beneficial in my current position. I have frequently been curiously asked by close coworkers, "Matthew, why do you work so hard? Everyone else departs on schedule." I always respond to that by saying, well, it's a waste of time and stressful to pretend to be someone I'm not. It's far more enjoyable to do what I want to do. Since I was young and ignorant of the outside world at the time, I believe I could have said anything along such lines. I didn't realize that a lot of people had situations that keep them from expressing their desires. Nevertheless, I have no regrets for speaking those remarks because I met a lot of people who shared my views. I understand, Matthew. That's quite commendable. Perhaps I'll look for people who are motivated to put in more effort as well. It probably wouldn't go as planned if I said something like that now, as an adult. Things worked out well because we were young and surrounded by sympathetic individuals at the time. Matthew, I found so many people who share the same value, 5 people. That is incredible. Okay, so going forward, we will work as a team with a common goal. We discussed our values from that day on. We shared fresh ideas and taught others effective work practices, regardless of our departments or roles. Those accumulating recollections form the fundamental basis of my current identity. I currently work for a large corporation that has offices all over the world. It's a corporation that many people admire and has achieved some of the best results in the industry. People always find me surprising when I tell them I work there. But recently, I've had a bit of a problem with a particular newcomer who keeps calling me incompetent. Even small mistakes lead to long lectures, and it's been bothering me. June brought the rainy season. The gloomy weather that had lingered for so long suddenly gave way to a clear, brilliant sky stretching above us. As I stared at the bright sky and headed to work, I stepped into the sales office, only to hear Travis's shouting voice. I sighed, thinking, here we go again. Why can't you get something this simple done quickly? Everyone else manages just fine. You're unbelievably slow. That's Travis, the department manager, berating one of the colleagues. Travis is a man in his 30s who recently transferred to the sales department. Wearing an expensive suit, a luxury wristwatch, and a gleaming wedding ring, he looks like the epitome of success. His desk reflects the same image, cluttered with high-end stationery and the latest tablet devices. Even the small ornaments tucked into the corner are flashy, covered in golden embellishments that feel out of place in the office. Travis lashes out at his subordinates over the smallest annoyances. Most of all, his insults are especially sharp when results don't meet his expectations. I promised Mr. Stevens I would do a proper job as department manager. If my subordinates are incompetent, they'll just drag me down. Useless people aren't needed here. Get back to work. The colleague being scolded apologized, saying, I'm very sorry, before quickly returning to his desk. Oh, young people like that shouldn't even bother joining this company. They'd have been better off somewhere else. Still fuming, Travis turned his attention to me as well. Hey you, useless employee. Stop standing around and get back to work. Time is limited, you know. Yes, sir, I replied. Not wanting to endure yet another long lecture, I quietly returned to my desk. Watching the exhausted colleague, I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I walked up to the colleague and tapped them on the shoulder. Rough day, huh? This isn't much, but have it during your break. I handed him an energy bar I had stashed in my pocket and returned to my seat. It's not something to brag about, but I know most of my colleagues' preferences pretty well. After working here for over 10 years, it's only natural. That's why I always carry small snacks in my pocket, to help out my colleagues in times of need. This might help for now, but it's still just a temporary fix. There are several other colleagues who've also been pushed to the edge by Travis's constant berating. This situation needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. While I was thinking about that, I didn't even notice that Travis was watching me. A notification buzzed on my phone as I continued my work. It was a text from Mr. Stevens. Puzzled, I began reading the message. Later that day, after speaking with Mr. Stevens and the useless people have no place here. The text message that was delivered to my phone stated that I had been unexpectedly allocated just prior to the presentation. It's obvious that Travis, the department manager who emailed this, has no regard for the business. Most likely, his only goal is to disparage those he doesn't like. Travis is taking advantage of this chance to humiliate and destroy me because he despises me. But I can't afford to make a mistake here and hurt the business. With determination, I collect myself and begin presenting the product using the proper terminology. I'm lucky enough to succeed, but I can't give in to Travis's demands. I had already started a particular plan. Those things I trusted to a few people would be useful soon enough. I silently continued to record information for my eventual revenge, thinking of that moment. I'm Matthew, and this year was my 33rd birthday. My favorite things are productive work and cordial connections with my coworkers. Since I was in school, I have always engaged with a lot of people because I value relationships. Speaking with individuals from various backgrounds taught me a variety of viewpoints and thought processes that have been very beneficial in my current position. I have frequently been curiously asked by close coworkers, "Matthew, why do you work so hard? Everyone else departs on schedule." I always respond to that by saying, well, it's a waste of time and stressful to pretend to be someone I'm not. It's far more enjoyable to do what I want to do. Since I was young and ignorant of the outside world at the time, I believe I could have said anything along such lines. I didn't realize that a lot of people had situations that keep them from expressing their desires. Nevertheless, I have no regrets for speaking those remarks because I met a lot of people who shared my views. I understand, Matthew. That's quite commendable. Perhaps I'll look for people who are motivated to put in more effort as well. It probably wouldn't go as planned if I said something like that now, as an adult. Things worked out well because we were young and surrounded by sympathetic individuals at the time. Matthew, I found so many people who share the same value, 5 people. That is incredible. Okay, so going forward, we will work as a team with a common goal. We discussed our values from that day on. We shared fresh ideas and taught others effective work practices, regardless of our departments or roles. Those accumulating recollections form the fundamental basis of my current identity. I currently work for a large corporation that has offices all over the world. It's a corporation that many people admire and has achieved some of the best results in the industry. People always find me surprising when I tell them I work there. But recently, I've had a bit of a problem with a particular newcomer who keeps calling me incompetent. Even small mistakes lead to long lectures, and it's been bothering me. June brought the rainy season. The gloomy weather that had lingered for so long suddenly gave way to a clear, brilliant sky stretching above us. As I stared at the bright sky and headed to work, I stepped into the sales office, only to hear Travis's shouting voice. I sighed, thinking, here we go again. Why can't you get something this simple done quickly? Everyone else manages just fine. You're unbelievably slow. That's Travis, the department manager, berating one of the colleagues. Travis is a man in his 30s who recently transferred to the sales department. Wearing an expensive suit, a luxury wristwatch, and a gleaming wedding ring, he looks like the epitome of success. His desk reflects the same image, cluttered with high-end stationery and the latest tablet devices. Even the small ornaments tucked into the corner are flashy, covered in golden embellishments that feel out of place in the office. Travis lashes out at his subordinates over the smallest annoyances. Most of all, his insults are especially sharp when results don't meet his expectations. I promised Mr. Stevens I would do a proper job as department manager. If my subordinates are incompetent, they'll just drag me down. Useless people aren't needed here. Get back to work. The colleague being scolded apologized, saying, "I'm very sorry," before quickly returning to his desk. Oh, young people like that shouldn't even bother joining this company. They'd have been better off somewhere else. Still fuming, Travis turned his attention to me as well. Hey you, useless employee. Stop standing around and get back to work. Time is limited, you know. Yes, sir, I replied. Not wanting to endure yet another long lecture, I quietly returned to my desk. Watching the exhausted colleague, I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I walked up to the colleague and tapped them on the shoulder. Rough day, huh? This isn't much, but have it during your break. I handed him an energy bar I had stashed in my pocket and returned to my seat. It's not something to brag about, but I know most of my colleagues' preferences pretty well. After working here for over 10 years, it's only natural. That's why I always carry small snacks in my pocket, to help out my colleagues in times of need. This might help for now, but it's still just a temporary fix. There are several other colleagues who've also been pushed to the edge by Travis's constant berating. This situation needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. While I was thinking about that, I didn't even notice that Travis was watching me. A notification buzzed on my phone as I continued my work. It was a text from Mr. Stevens. Puzzled, I began reading the message. Later that day, after speaking with Mr. Stevens in the conference room, I decided to carry a small recording device in the pocket of my suit jacket. A few days later, I discreetly kept a recorder in my chest pocket while working in another department's office. The place where I currently work is the Overseas Business Department. Several team members had gone on maternity leave around the same time, leaving the department severely understaffed. Because it wasn't a great time to hire new colleagues, they decided to bring in experienced help from other departments, me in this case. I've helped out here a few times before, so I knew I could be of some use. Glad to have you on board. I trust you more than others, Matthew, and you're already somewhat familiar with how things work here, said Tiffany, a woman in her 30s who welcomed me warmly. Understood. I'll be in your care for a while, I replied. Because I'd helped this team before, their reaction to me joining was fairly calm. Blending in naturally, I dove into my tasks, working hard to fill in where help was most needed. But that wasn't the only reason I was here. Actually, I'd been secretly assigned a mission by Mr. Stevens to investigate Travis's problematic behavior. I must have angered Travis somehow. When I was informed of my transfer to the Overseas Business Division, he had looked at me with a smug grin. Before moving, he'd also dumped far more grunt work on me than usual. I'm certain it wasn't just my imagination. As I sorted through documents, half occupied with these thoughts, another colleague spoke up. Are you doing okay, Matthew? If you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm fine, really. With things as hectic as they are, any help you can give us is a huge relief. Thank you. I'll make sure to reach out if I need anything. I had only stopped working because I was lost in thought, but I still felt a little embarrassed. I needed to focus and get back to work to avoid becoming a burden to others. Almost as if she had read my mind, Tiffany spoke up. You were just deep in thought, weren't you? How are you doing? Managing okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks to your support, I'm getting by. I really appreciate it. Tiffany is a colleague my age, also in her 30s. We joined the company at the same time and have been working together as peers ever since. We understand each other well, but maintain an appropriate level of professionalism at work. Since our early days as new colleagues, we've seen a lot together, both at work and outside it. After years of sharing struggles and successes, we've come to understand each other's personalities and working styles deeply. Unfortunately, we're now in different departments. But after more than a decade at the same company, we both have a good sense of how each other's teams operate. Of course, only within the limits that do not violate confidentiality. If there's something you're unsure of, talk to Melissa or Kevin. Okay. If you need help organizing documents, Samuel is your guy. And if it's technical jargon, George knows it inside out. Perfect. Sounds like you know exactly who to go to. Tiffany clapped her hands with an amused smile on her face. You're in a good mood today. What's up? Well, remember that overseas company I've been reaching out to for ages? It looks like they're finally interested in our products. They want us to give them a presentation soon. Our company had long been trying to negotiate with a major American corporation, but talks had never quite materialized. Recently, though, it seemed like they were beginning to consider the deal, so the Overseas Business Division was abuzz with excitement. I don't know the details, but good luck. Of course, if I need any help, I'll let you know, so be ready. I don't think there will ever be a situation where we'd need just an extra hand. I looked at Tiffany, amused yet fond, as she enthusiastically got ready. Tiffany has always been a forward thinker, unafraid to take on challenges and push boundaries. She's never concerned about department lines, and frequently proposes ideas to benefit the company as a whole. Lately, she's been advocating for developing new products aimed at overseas markets. Unlike Travis, Tiffany never looks down on people because of their age or experience. Honestly, I've often wished Travis could learn a thing or two from her. With that thought, I refocused on my work. Putting my skills to use by organizing English language materials, I returned completed files to their shelves. Ideally, everyone would put files back properly after using them. But when things get busy or when someone's distracted, mistakes happen. It's a task that needs regular attention, and for someone like me, stepping in as a temporary helper, it's the perfect job. As I concentrated, Travis suddenly entered the Overseas Business Division office. He approached Michael, the department head. I came to check on my colleague. Mind if I walk around a bit? No. Go right ahead, Michael replied. Even though Michael was older, he didn't seem to be able to stand up to Travis. I promised Mr. Stevens I'd do a proper job as department manager. If my subordinates are useless, they'll just drag me down, Travis muttered. I don't know whose words were murmured in that moment. For me, it wasn't the speaker, but what was said that caught my attention. The moment Travis showed up, murmurs of dissatisfaction started to ripple through the office. I couldn't help but overhear snippets of their comments as I worked, mentally taking notes. It's unfair. He became manager through connections, not skill. Now he's wasting time walking around other departments. I heard Michael can't stand up to him because Travis has something on him. I feel bad for anyone stuck working under that guy. I'd always felt there was something off about Travis. His rise to the position of department manager at such a young age had struck me as odd. These murmurs only confirmed my suspicions. While I mulled over these thoughts, I turned and realized, to my surprise, that Travis had gotten much closer to me than I'd expected. Grinning smugly, he walked right up to where I was sitting. Looks like you're fitting in here nicely. Sending you here as a helper was the right call, after all. Ah, is that so? I struggled to find the right words, and my face must have looked tense with nerves. But Travis, of course, misinterpreted it entirely. You seem to be struggling, so I'll have you stay here for a while. Do your best, he said. He assumed my expression was because I couldn't keep up with the work here. Even without Travis asking, I intended to work hard because I didn't want to trouble my kind and supportive colleagues. Oh, by the way, everyone here graduated from top-tier universities. Since you're from a third-tier university, you must feel out of place. But don't even think about running away, he added. Hearing those words, I felt something unsettling. A third-tier university. Where did you hear that? I asked. The other day, I saw one of your colleagues drunk at a bar and got quite a bit out of them. I get it. Having a mediocre academic background might make someone want to hide their incompetence. But keeping track of this kind of information is part of a department head's job. Don't take it personally, he replied. It was likely the alcohol talking, loose lips, and muddled memories. I hadn't actually graduated from a third-tier university, but I figured it might cause trouble if I were called a liar or something. So I decided to keep my real background hidden. I might end up being labeled as incompetent while keeping my background hidden, but since I'm working in the Overseas Business Department now, I'm fine with that. Satisfied with my silence, Travis smirked and left the room. After that, I was assigned a certain business negotiation by Michael. It was with the major American corporation Tiffany had mentioned. Honestly, as a temporary helper, this shouldn't have fallen on me. It had Travis's fingerprints all over it. He was leveraging something as important as a future-defining deal for personal reasons, throwing me into the fire. He doesn't seem like someone suited for the position of department head. The following weeks were grueling. With the weight of the company's future on my shoulders, I couldn't afford to mess up. The stress gnawed at my stomach each night. On my way home, I grabbed energy drinks from my favorite shop just to keep going. Thankfully, my colleagues rallied around me. Tiffany especially stayed late to help me prepare, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thanks. If you hadn't helped, this would have been so much worse, I told her. Helping a friend is just what you do, but you owe me a nice meal when this is over, okay, she replied. I know. I'll treat you to the best dinner you've ever had, I promised. Then came the day of the event. At last, the fateful day arrived. With all the necessary materials in hand, Tiffany and I headed to the client's office. After giving our names at reception, we were escorted to a meeting room. The moment we walked in, a foreign colleague greeted us in English, catching me by surprise. At that moment, I realized what Travis had been planning. A confused Tiffany leaned in and spoke to me in a low voice. "Wait, do we have to handle this in English?" "Looks like it. Guess we got no choice but to face it head on," I replied. "Face it? Wait, you can do this, right?" she asked with a questioning look. I decided to show her through my actions. Seeing me begin to handle the situation in English, her eyes widened in surprise. The negotiation went surprisingly well. The atmosphere was positive and encouraging. It seemed the client had intended to partner with us from the very beginning. The discussion even extended to post-deal logistics and planning. As the meeting progressed, more Japanese colleagues began trickling into the room. Clearly, the deal's importance had drawn in leaders from various departments. At this point, the discussion had become too detailed for me to handle alone. I was about to explain the situation to the newly joined Japanese colleague and suggest that we call it a day. However, it seemed the situation wasn't that simple after all. "Excuse me? Isn't there a product presentation scheduled in the main conference room right after this? We'll guide you there now unless you have another engagement," someone said. Tiffany and I instinctively exchanged glances, both of us saying, "Huh. Wait, I didn't hear anything about this. Is this some kind of mistake?" "No, it's probably Travis pulling the strings again. But since we got everything we need, it's better to handle this without making a scene," I replied. I had already committed to seeing this through, and an extra challenge wouldn't change that now. We headed to the main conference room for round 2. On the way, I received a text from Travis. The timing was so perfect, so pointed, that I couldn't help but grudgingly admire his pettiness. "Is it time for the presentation yet?" the text read. It continued with a stream of meaningless filler, but I skipped the end where it concluded, "Useless people have no place here." It was then I remembered he still believed that nonsense about my academic background. When we reached the main conference room, I stepped onto the stage that had been prepared. Taking a deep breath, I quickly organized the flow of the presentation in my mind, planning to deliver it in both Japanese and English to suit the multinational audience. "Thank you for taking the time to join us today," I said, first in Japanese, then immediately switched to fluent English. At first, I noticed some people tilting their heads in confusion at my words, and I couldn't help but nod in understanding. It seemed that everyone here had been told the product explanation would be given in English. As I continued speaking, referencing the materials and explaining the product in detail, I scanned the room. The audience appeared attentive, without any trace of hostility. Clearly, there was no one here trying to sabotage me. As I stood on stage, continuing my presentation, I noticed someone new entering the large conference room. It was Travis, who was supposed to be back at the company. Perhaps he had come to check whether his subordinates were handling the presentation properly. However, when he saw me explaining fluently, he looked visibly surprised. Before long, his face contorted with frustration, and he left the room without a word. After the presentation, Tiffany and I returned to the office. I gave my report to the Overseas Business Division and then stopped by the sales department. It felt oddly nostalgic after working in a different department for so long. As I looked around, I noticed something familiar sitting on my colleagues' desks, the small recording devices I had distributed earlier. Seeing them still there, untouched, reassured me that my plan was progressing smoothly. But Travis wasted no time. He stormed over to me with a scowl. "What the hell was that about? No one told me anything," he shouted. "What do you mean by that?" I asked. "Don't play dumb. You were speaking fluent English at the client's company, weren't you?" I had only asked to ensure there was no mistake, but it seemed he thought I was messing with him. Travis glared at me, slamming his desk forcefully with a loud bang. "I didn't know you could speak English that well. Were you lying to us this whole time? And on top of that, I heard you introduced yourself as a graduate from a top-tier university during the negotiation. I was shocked when I heard about it from one of the client's colleagues on the way back. I never intended to lie. I had made it clear during my self-introduction to Travis from the very beginning. The day Travis became manager, all the colleagues had introduced themselves. But clearly, he hadn't been paying attention. Travis glared at me, furious. With a sudden motion, he grabbed a pen from his desk and hurled it at me. I had anticipated the move and easily sidestepped it. Undeterred, Travis began throwing more items. His pencil case, a folder, even a crumpled piece of paper. Eventually, his desk was cleared except for one item, a recording device. Seeing it, he finally seemed to regain some composure. "Fine. Let's stay calm," he said, steadying his breathing. Changing his approach, he grabbed my hand firmly and said, "Well done. You really came through this time. I'm so proud of you." From the outside, it might look like a boss showing care for his subordinate. But no one knows the truth better than I do. Travis's mouth was twitching, and more than anything, the incredible force gripping my hand said it all. It felt like I was a small animal caught in a snake's coils. Still, I had no choice but to endure it. After holding the handshake for several seconds, Travis finally let go and snorted dismissively. "Don't get cocky. I'll make sure you're out of here one way or another," he growled, his voice venomous. After taking a deep breath to calm himself, Travis turned away. "Get back to your work. I don't want to waste any more time talking to you." Of course, I felt the same way. Since I had nothing to say to Travis, I quickly left the scene. A week had passed since then. Travis continued to subject me to small acts of harassment. Most were fairly trivial. He would nag me for no reason or send me out to buy lunch for him like I was some errand boy. Thankfully, he rarely came around when I was working with other departments, so I had some peace. One day, I was carrying several sheets of paper for colleagues who preferred sketching designs on paper rather than using a computer. Tiffany, always willing to help, grabbed half the load and struck up a conversation. "Now that you mention it, Travis used to pop by here all the time, but I haven't seen him around lately," she said. I thought back over the past couple of days before answering, "Yeah, you're right." I wasn't sure if Travis was finally reflecting on his actions or quietly plotting something else. The latter possibility left me uneasy. I had managed to pull off that negotiation and presentation successfully, but if I had failed, the entire company would have faced serious repercussions. Well, I can't say I miss him. "But hey, you're using a different recorder today, aren't you?" Tiffany asked, glancing at my chest pocket. I smiled faintly. "Sharp eye. The old one's been acting up, so I sent it in for repairs. This one's a replacement." "Ha. Still, why do you always carry a recorder around?" "Oh, well." I hesitated slightly. I couldn't exactly tell her I was using it to document Travis's behavior. It's for work. Sometimes ideas pop into my head, and it's easier to record them as voice memos. "Wow, that's very you, Matthew, always so dedicated to your job." Her compliment made me think of Travis again. Travis, being Mr. Stevens' relative, lived a life of luxury. He often replaced his belongings, clothes, gadgets, and accessories, on a whim, carelessly discarding what he no longer wanted. Every time I saw him do that, I couldn't help but feel saddened for the craftsmen and manufacturers who put their effort into making those items. It was clear he'd never once thought about the people behind the products he used. "Speaking of your recorder, I remember seeing you talking to Mr. Stevens about a month ago." "I could have sworn you two were discussing something about recorders," Tiffany said. "Oh, that. It was nothing. He was just asking for my opinion on a new product," I replied. Tiffany gave me a long, steady look before turning her gaze elsewhere. Well, if it's something you can't talk about, I won't press you." It seemed she'd seen right through me. It wouldn't be long before I could tell her the truth. but lying to a friend still left me feeling guilty. While we were talking, it seemed the break time had arrived. Colleagues began wrapping up their work and leaving the office one after another. Some headed to the cafeteria, while others went to the convenience store, each with their own plans. Amid all this, the two of us left the company to visit a nearby ramen shop. As we walked, students passed by in front of us, perhaps finished early due to exam periods or shortened school hours. Those university days feel so nostalgic, I muttered while watching the young people. Tiffany nodded in agreement, saying, "Yeah, that's true." At 33, you start to look back on that time with nostalgia. Back then, even when we messed up, we had adults to step in and help us out. I'm so grateful for that. "You've always been a challenger," I said. Of course, I had so many things I wanted to try. I was lucky to have teachers and mentors who let me explore freely. Tiffany had attended a different university than I had, but she'd clearly made the most of her time there. I knew she participated in study abroad programs, interned at startups, and taken on countless challenges. "But I don't think Travis had the same kind of experience," she added. "What do you mean?" "The other day, I ran into him in one of the company hallways. He wasn't alone. He had this big bodyguard-looking guy with him." "Really? That's interesting." "Yeah, that man was loudly telling Travis, 'If you're going anywhere, let me know.' He spoke as if they'd known each other for years." I see. Maybe Travis feels trapped by all that. I had only ever known Travis as the tyrant in the office. I'd never considered what his personal life might be like. But if what Tiffany said was true, living under the watchful eye of a bodyguard sounded suffocating. Maybe Travis grew up in an environment where taking risks or making mistakes wasn't allowed. With that somber thought hanging in the air, we walked in silence toward our usual ramen spot. After lunch, we returned to the office just a few minutes before the break ended, only to find my desk in complete disarray. This is awful. Who could have done this? For the time being, I asked the people who had been eating their lunch indoors what had happened, but they only turned pale and said nothing. I recognized this reaction immediately. It was the same look I'd seen on colleagues who had been screamed at by Travis. Clearly, they'd been intimidated or threatened into keeping quiet. I turned to a nearby desk where one of my colleagues was sitting and discreetly retrieved the small recorder I'd given him earlier. Tiffany noticed and tilted her head in confusion. "Wait a minute. Isn't that one of those recorders you gave out?" "Yeah. I asked them to keep it on their desks, just in case." "Just in case what? What do you mean?" I explained the recorder in detail to Tiffany, who looked puzzled. After hearing that, Tiffany let out a sigh of admiration, as if it all made sense to her. "Wow, so that's what those little gadgets were for. I just thought you were a recording enthusiast or something. Hey now, I do like recorders, for the record." Yeah, we can discuss your tech hobbies later. But Travis is going to lose his mind when he finds out about this." I nodded. Travis had run rampant for far too long, mistreating colleagues and abusing his authority. It was finally time to bring all of this to light. The following day, when I arrived at the office, I was immediately summoned along with Travis. The destination was the president's office. After meeting up with Travis along the way, we entered the room. The person sitting at the desk looked directly at us. The man responsible for carrying this company on his shoulders was Mr. Stevens, who also happened to be Travis's uncle. Though he was in his 50s, he maintained a youthful appearance that could easily pass for someone a generation younger. His hair was naturally streaked with gray, and he wore a simple, unadorned suit. At a glance, he might seem like an unassuming middle-aged man. However, he was the exceptional figure who had taken this company from the brink of collapse to rapid growth in just a few years. Travis, seemingly unable to understand why Mr. Stevens had summoned us, glanced around the room in confusion, his gaze wandering restlessly. "Ah, sir, what is this about?" Perhaps unable to endure the heavy atmosphere in the room, Travis stammered as he opened his mouth. In response, Mr. Stevens sighed and looked at Travis's face. "Travis, you've let me down." Saying that, Mr. Stevens pulled out a paper bag, likely from behind his desk. Inside it was the small recorder I had distributed to my colleagues. While I had been working in the sales department, those recorders had been sitting on my colleagues' desks as mere decorations. However, the time had come for them to serve their purpose, so they were all collected at once. Why are those here? Unable to keep up with the situation, Travis turned his gaze toward me. His look seemed to ask if I knew something about this. However, I said nothing. Mr. Stevens pulled a small recorder out of the desk drawer. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary recorder. But when Mr. Stevens pressed a small button on its side, the outer casing opened, revealing another even smaller recorder inside. That's... As Travis stared in shock, Mr. Stevens began to explain. "As you can see, this is a disguised recorder. Matthew used it to record your words, the countless intolerable insults you hurled. When I listened to them, I had no choice but to reflect on my own foolishness. No, Uncle. It's not like that. This is." Travis's face paled in an instant. With a trembling voice, he spoke to Mr. Stevens. However, even when faced with his panicked nephew, Mr. Stevens showed no sign of being shaken. "Be quiet. I don't recall giving you permission to make excuses." At the sound of his uncle's cold voice, Travis let out a startled cry and stepped back. I believed it was my duty to honor my sister's wishes and raise her child without hardship, but it seems I made a mistake. Hearing such unexpectedly personal words, I froze, unsure of how to respond. While I had my own thoughts about Travis, I couldn't pretend to be unaffected when listening to someone's private matters. Besides, I never intended to become the kind of person who takes pleasure in someone else's misfortune. So, I simply didn't know how to react. "Travis, you're fired. I gave you the position of department manager because I thought you were capable. But I was wrong. It seems I must now question everything your school records, the praise I once heard from your teachers." Everything having said that, Mr. Stevens shifted his gaze away from his nephew, Travis, and looked at me, his demeanor clearly signaling that the conversation was over. Travis, who had just been informed of his dismissal, whispered in a faint voice, "Wait, please. I'll do better from now on, so forgive me. I'm sorry, Uncle. People don't change so easily. You failed in your role as a manager, and I have no reason to give you another chance." "No. No way. Do you hate me, Uncle? Until now, you've always given me everything I asked for. That was when you were a child, but now you're an adult, and I will treat you as one." He must have realized there was no longer any room for appeal. Hearing those words, Travis clung to Mr. Stevens, sobbing uncontrollably like a child. However, Mr. Stevens said nothing to his nephew and instead turned his gaze toward me. "Well done, Matthew. Thanks to you, we avoided what could have been significant damage to this company. You also handled the recent negotiation admirably. I was right to trust you with this task." "Thank you, sir." Mr. Stevens had apparently been suspicious for some time of the high number of colleagues in the sales department taking leave. In fact, the reason I ended up working in the overseas business department was due to a secret request from Mr. Stevens. While I was still in the sales department, I received an email from him. The email detailed my transfer to the overseas business department and a certain confidential mission. Mr. Stevens, suspicious about the frequent leaves being taken in the sales department, asked me to uncover the cause. Officially, my move was framed as providing support to the understaffed overseas business department, but in reality, I was tasked with investigating Travis's behavior. That's why I used the recorder to document Travis's actions and words. Now the problem was resolved, and yet, despite everything, I felt a lingering unease, believing that things couldn't stay as they were. I gathered my courage and spoke to Mr. Stevens. Sir, I know it's not my place, but is there really no way Travis can be given another chance? Hearing those words, Mr. Stevens looked surprised. After checking on the still crying Travis, he turned his gaze directly to me. You don't hold any resentment. I'd always believed that being a pilot was my destiny, but it was unfairly and ruthlessly taken from me. I should put it out of my mind. It came with a huge bang just as I was about to quit thinking and close my eyes to go to sleep. The entire aircraft trembled wildly. The passengers let out screams. Please, someone help. A dejected-looking flight attendant was calling for assistance amid the confusion. Hey, how are you? What took place? I asked her questions. I had no idea that this behavior would result in such a circumstance. Shane is my name. As a pilot, I used to travel the world. Yes, that was definitely the case until a moment ago. I exhaled in exasperation at myself. Why was this necessary? I still find it hard to accept. I couldn't do anything, though. I gripped the notice of termination tightly. It all began with a specific aviation mishap. One day it happened on a flight. I was the captain when I got on the plane that day. Jared, good morning. Today, I'm depending on you. My junior co-pilot, Jared, said, Yes, thank you, in response. Although he was a new co-pilot, everyone held him in great regard because he was the son of Mr. Johnson, the head of the Aviation Bureau. Once we're solid, I intend to hand off control to Jared. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't grasp something. You're not outstanding just because you became a captain a little earlier than others. What did you say? Nothing. Although Jared gave off the impression of being a serious young guy, there were moments when his muttering made it difficult to decipher his thoughts. Well, I ignored Jared and concentrated on my work because I believed it was common to have a strained relationship with one or two coworkers. All right, we'll be landing shortly. You performed fairly well, Jared. Ah, thank you. I've been letting Jared take charge of the flight every now and then to give him some experience. It happened with a huge blast just as the flight was about to terminate without incident. The plane trembled badly. Could it be a bird strike? I caught a glimpse of a group of birds. I grasped the control stick and made a fast assessment of the situation. Get in touch with the air traffic controller, Jared. A bird struck. There is damage to the engine. Seek direction to a potential landing location. As I offered directions, I made an effort to maintain my composure. Okay. Despite his pale face, Jared was able to comply with my orders. It isn't shocking. Such accidents are uncommon. Don't freak out, Jared. Now is the time to remain composed, look about, and evaluate the situation. I'll take care of the rest. All right. I kept trying to figure out how to get out of this situation while still controlling the aircraft. Oddly enough, I always seem to know instinctively what to do in these kinds of circumstances. We had to land at an unanticipated airport this time, though. Needless to say, the mishap created quite a fuss, but thankfully no one was hurt. At that time, I had no idea that this incident would lead to such consequences. That day, I compiled the accident report. Thanks to you following instructions properly, we managed to minimize the damage. No problem. Well, all that's left is to submit the report, and then we're done for today. Shane. I was stopped by Jared calling me. I turned to him, wondering what was unusual. What's up? Well, I'll submit the report. I have some other business over there too. Okay, got it. I appreciate it. Yes, leave it to me. Excuse me then. Saying this, Jared left. I could say that my action at that moment made it all go wrong. The next day, I was wrongfully accused. Wait, there must be some mistake. I don't remember submitting such a report. No one would listen to my desperate plea. The contents of the report I submitted the day before had been tampered with by someone. According to the falsified report, The plane accident was due to my piloting error, resulting in an emergency landing. I didn't want to believe it, but there was only one person who could have done this. Shane, you're not good at giving up. Why don't you just admit your mistake? I glared in the direction of the voice. There was Jared, looking down on me with disdain in his eyes. As I was struck down by the shock, Jared quietly approached and whispered in my ear, I don't care if you're the fastest ever genius pilot to become a captain. You've always been an eyesore. Please disappear from my life as soon as possible. With those words spoken lowly, Jared gave me a cold smile. In the end, all my arguments were dismissed, and I was fired, ostensibly to take responsibility for the accident. Additionally, my pilot's license was revoked. Suddenly stripped of the job I had dedicated everything to, I was at a loss. Come to think of it, it's been a while since I've been home. Suddenly, I thought of my parents. Maybe I should visit them. Despite the circumstances, it might be a good opportunity to think positively. I took out my phone and decided to call home. Hello, this is Alice. After a few rings, my mom answered the phone. Mom, it's Shane. Oh, Shane, it's been a while. What's up? Sorry to spring this on you, but I'm thinking of coming over. Oh, really? What is it, Shane? Are you going to introduce us to a girlfriend? Unfortunately, no. Sorry, Mom. I just felt like coming back. I see. All right then. Oh, Shane, hold on a second. Your father wants to talk too. After a pause, I heard my father's voice from the other end. Shane. Yeah, Dad, it's been a while. You're coming home, aren't you? Yeah. What are you bringing home, a wife? No, that's not it. What's with you and Mom both going on about that? I couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps my dad and Mom could sense that I wasn't quite myself. Well, if you're coming home, it means you can relax for a bit, right? Stay as long as you like. Thanks, Dad. I hung up the phone and took a deep breath. It's been a while since I heard their voices. I felt a warm sensation spreading slowly inside my chest. All right, let's go home for now. I decided not to think about anything and just head back to my family home. I quickly booked a plane ticket, and a few days later, I boarded the plane I had reserved to go home. My seat is here. I found my seat and sat down. Although I was used to flying, being a passenger felt strangely different. Can I never go back to being a pilot? The thought brought a surge of fear. At the same time, I lamented internally about how things had come to this. I had always thought being a pilot was my true calling, but it had been unfairly ripped away from me. No, I should stop thinking about it. Regretting it now wouldn't help. There was nothing I could do about it anymore. I reminded myself, actually being a passenger isn't so bad. I peered out the small airplane window. The plane was just taking off, quickly gaining altitude. As I watched the land slowly recede below, I started to doze off. That was when a tremendous impact shook the entire cabin. Screams filled the air. What the? I was instantly wide awake. I looked out the window. This is a flock of birds. It was just like that time. How can this be happening again? Such a coincidence. I hadn't expected to face this situation twice in such a short period. It was a bird strike. As I was thinking about whether the aircraft and pilots were okay, the plane suddenly tilted sharply, causing a larger wave of screams. This isn't good. The cabin was in utter panic. Some people tried to stand up while others crouched and cried out. As I was pondering what I could possibly do, it happened. Please, someone help. Amidst the chaos, a flight attendant with a look of despair was pleading for help. Hey, are you okay? Unable to just sit there, I confronted her. What happened? You are. I'm a pilot. Is there anything I can do to help? Really? Oh, please help. The captain has passed out from the shock. The captain has? What about the co-pilot? I asked, and she looked dismayed. That's the thing. The co-pilot today is a rookie, and the plane shook violently again, and I managed to catch the stumbling flight attendant and stand up. We can't just sit here. Come with me, please. Yes, yes. Together with the flight attendant, I made my way to the cockpit. We raced down the long aisle of the shaking cabin and finally reached the cockpit. Are you okay? Hey, who are you? Calm down. I might not look it, but I'm an experienced captain. Keep holding the controls. I'll take over now. As I had heard, the co-pilot was indeed a young man. His eyes were brimming with tears as he panicked. While calming him down, I first checked on the captain, who was unconscious in the pilot's seat. Good, he has a pulse, and he's breathing. It seemed the captain's life was not in danger. After checking on him, I'd addressed the young co-pilot. Swap with me. You contact the control tower and request an emergency landing. Can you do that? Yes, yes. I took over the controls from the co-pilot. I never thought I would be handling these controls again, yet it fit comfortably in my hands. It's okay. I will save everyone. I had lied about being a pilot. After all, I no longer had that qualification, but I couldn't just stand by. I was here to save the lives in front of me. Once again, permission for emergency landing granted. Understood. Hey, can you make the announcement to the passengers? We're starting the landing approach. Yes, yes. Slowly, the aircraft began to respond to my commands. I aimed for the runway, where we were cleared to land, and started the landing procedures. I don't remember much of what happened next. I was completely focused. When the airplane touched down on the runway and finally stopped, cheers and applause erupted from the passengers. Phew, that was a bit tense. I released the control stick I had been gripping tightly. My shirt was soaked with sweat. The plane had landed safely. Fortunately, there were no injuries among the passengers. After evacuating them, we managed to get the injured captain into an ambulance, and I could finally take a breath. It's finally over. Excuse me. I turned around at the voice from behind. There stood the flight attendant and the young co-pilot from earlier. Oh, you are? Yes, thank you so much. You saved all the passengers, the captain, and my brother, and me too. Ed, your brother? Yes, that's me. She's my sister. And, oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Michael. As he spoke, the young co-pilot handed me his business card. I am Claire, his sister. Thank you so much for your help. May I ask your name? I hesitated as I took their business cards. They were both former colleagues of mine, so to speak. Naming myself might complicate matters. As I debated whether to reveal my identity, Michael looked intently at my face. Then, suddenly, he seemed to recognize something. Sorry if I'm mistaken, but you're Shane, right? Eh? Ah, yes. What? You knew? Of course. Oh, I'm actually a fan of yours. I've always admired you, Shane. Becoming a pilot like you has been my dream. I really look up to you. Haha, is that so? Thanks. But if you know about me, you know, right? I'm no longer Shane. Michael started to say something with a hint of sadness, glanced at his sister Claire, and then they both nodded slightly. Shane, there's something we'd like to tell you. What is it? What happened? Well, ever since you left the airline, there's been quite a stir among your peers. A stir? People are saying that maybe you were framed. I still can't believe it, that you made a piloting error. That is... Excuse me for interrupting. Just then, a man called out from a short distance away. As I looked up, the man approached, displaying a police badge. After studying each of our faces in turn, he focused on me. You're Shane, right? Yes. My name is Aaron. May I have a word with you? Aaron? The officer had a friendly, fatherly demeanor. Still a bit wary, I nodded at him. Yes, sure. Thank you for cooperating. I just want to ask about what happened on the plane earlier. And you too, Claire and Michael. Yes, thank you. Now, if we could start. Aaron began to ask us in detail about what had occurred on the plane. After we finished explaining everything, he nodded, saying, and tilted his head thoughtfully. Just one thing I want to confirm, Shane. Your current job is... I'm sorry, it's true I was a pilot, but I've been stripped of my license. I wasn't supposed to be flying a plane. Lying wouldn't help, so I decided to come clean about everything. Shane, may I speak? CLA looked at me worriedly, and Michael quickly interjected about the incident earlier. If Shane hadn't taken over the controls, there's a high chance we would have crashed. It's my fault for being inadequate. If anyone is to blame, it's also on me. He was just a passenger on that plane, and I asked him for help. He simply responded to that request. Claire added, Shane isn't at fault. If he hadn't been there to pilot the plane, who knows what would have happened to us passengers, and us all. All right, calm down, everyone, Aaron said, looking a bit troubled. He calmed us down, then paused as if thinking something over. He spoke up again. If what you're saying is true, it would be wrong to punish Shane. It was an emergency situation involving human lives. Don't worry about that aspect. I'll take care of it. Really? Thank you, I said, but there's one thing that bothers me. As he spoke, Aaron glanced briefly at me. Why would a pilot as skilled as Shane have his license revoked? Hesitating slightly, I looked towards Michael and CLA. Both seemed to have made some resolve, nodding firmly. I nodded back slightly and turned again towards Aaron. Aaron, may I tell you something? I decided to tell Aaron about the accident. I confessed everything to him about the accident and the subsequent issues with the report. So the report I wrote was tampered with, I added. I see. So there's darkness in the upper echelons of every world. Huh. Aaron, who had listened to my story in silence, frowned thoughtfully. Michael and CLA approached him as if clinging to hope. I knew it. So the rumors were true. Aaron, can the police just leave this matter alone? Can you investigate this matter? Well, it gets quite complicated when the upper levels are involved. From Aaron's reaction, it seemed delving deeper into this issue might indeed be dangerous. I raised my hand to Michael and CLA, urging them to calm down. Both of you, it's okay. But Aaron, if you can, please keep an eye out so this doesn't happen again. Wait, Shane, Aaron interrupted, extending his arm decisively. He then nodded as if making a decision. Shane, I promise to do everything I can regarding this matter, but you'll have to cooperate with any inquiries or provide information. Of course, you two as well. While saying this, Aaron gave a slight smile, trying to lighten the mood. Afterward, as promised, Aaron actively investigated the incident. As evidence of his efforts, I, being directly involved, was questioned repeatedly by various people. As I had stated from the beginning, the accident was not due to a piloting error, but was caused by a bird strike, as I had written in the report. How many times had I repeated this testimony? Though it grew tiresome towards the end, I endured it, reminding myself it was all thanks to Aaron's efforts. Finally, my claims were acknowledged, and the co-pilot at the time, Jared, who had manipulated the information, was revealed and dismissed. Thus, I was allowed to return to my role as a pilot. That night, Aaron invited me out for drinks at a casual bar. We clinked frosty beer mugs. Ah, beer really does taste better after a victory, I said. Indeed, Aaron's beaming smile told the whole story. He must have gone through a lot due to this ordeal. Aaron, I'm sorry for the trouble. It must have been hard digging into the truth, right? Oh no, Shane, no need for apologies. More importantly, congratulations on getting your job back, man. You did well. The interrogations must have been tough. Well done. It's all thanks to you, Aaron. Really, thank you. That's all right. Oh, I'm just glad we could save you this time. Wondering what he meant, I looked at Aaron's face. He had a contemplative look, as if gazing into the distance. After taking another sip of beer, Aaron began to speak slowly. I had a story from the past. I had a subordinate I particularly looked out for, a man with an upright character, just like you. And him now. He quit, just like you. He was made to take the blame for something he didn't do. That's tough. At that time, I couldn't defend him. Being part of the organization, I couldn't go against the orders from above. I still regret that moment. Aaron finished the remaining beer in his mug and turned to face me. It seems I was projecting him onto you. That's why I wanted to help this time. Sorry. Did I cause you trouble? Not at all. Is that so? Then I'm glad. Aaron smiled broadly, beer foam still clinging to his lips, which made me burst out laughing involuntarily. Aaron, you've got foam on your lip. Huh, my bad. You're still drinking, right? Excuse me, another round of beers, please. Aaron called out cheerfully. That day, I spent a delightful evening drinking to my heart's content with Aaron. Everything had been settled, and it was only some time later that I finally regained my peace of mind. In the end, I didn't really get to relax much. Afterward, I did go back home as planned, but I couldn't stay for long. My parents said, "You should have stayed longer," looking disappointed. But I couldn't just stay. All right, let's go. Today is my first flight since returning as a pilot. I headed to the airport with determination. In the meeting room, there was Michael, my co-pilot for today. Next to him was Claire. Both of them greeted me as soon as they saw me. Shane, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, you two. I'm counting on you today. Today's flight crew includes both Michael and Claire. After what had happened, I feel a sense of camaraderie with these two. Shane, thank you so much for the other day. No, I should be the one thanking you. After that, you both spoke up for me with the police, right? Thanks to that, I could come back like this. I'm grateful. If we could be of help to you, Shane, we're happy too. Right, Claire? Yes, that's right. Seeing their smiles reassures me. I feel validated that taking action back then was the right decision. Shane, we have a briefing now. Right, I should head to my station too, so I'll excuse myself. See you later then. Claire gracefully makes her exit from the meeting room. As I watch her leave, I notice Michael grinning beside me and turn to him. What's up? Why the big smile? Hey, Shane, just a little secret. She was really excited to be on the same crew as you today. And of course I am too. Is that so? I'm glad to be with you two as well, Shane. Yeah, what's up? Don't you often get told you're oblivious? About what? Never mind. My sister is going to have a hard time. Michael chuckled, as if amused. I didn't fully understand, but it seemed like nothing bad. Come on, let's start the briefing, I said, opening the tablet and prompting Michael. Since my return as a pilot, some time had passed. I had been spending a lot of my off days with Claire and Michael. After today's flight, the three of us had planned to go out for dinner. After finishing up at work and taking a shower, I headed to the restaurant where we agreed to meet. Claire and Michael had already arrived and were waiting for me at the table. Shane, over here. Sorry for making you wait. It's okay, we just got here too. Shane, what would you like to drink? Thanks. Let me see. I peeked at the menu Claire was holding open across from me. Michael was watching us with a particularly big grin. What's up? Something wrong? No, it's just you two sitting side by side like that. You look like a couple. Hey, Michael, what are you saying? That's right. Claire is beautiful and has a great personality. She wouldn't need to choose someone like me, right, Claire? Oh, well, that's Hey, Claire, you really need to be more assertive. Muttering to himself, Michael rummaged through his pocket. Shane, would you mind taking this? What's this? Movie tickets. Yes, they were given to me, but I have a flight scheduled on this day. You're off on this day, right, Shane? Yeah, that's true. Great, there are 2 tickets, so I thought maybe you could invite someone to go with you. Oh, aren't you off on this day too? Oh yeah, I am. Then it's settled. Shane, please go with my sister. With that, Michael passed the movie tickets to me. Claire, is that okay? Don't you want to invite some other friends? Yes, I'd like to go with you, Shane. Is that so? Then let's go together. Thanks, Michael. You're welcome. Have fun, and you know what I mean, right? Yeah, home. What's wrong, Claire? Your face is red. Are you okay? I'm fine. More importantly, Shane, have you decided on your drink? Let's order quickly. Right, I almost forgot. Prompted by a somewhat flustered Claire, I chose something from the menu. Michael watched us, still smiling. Later, Claire would confess her feelings to me, and that's how our relationship would begin. But that's a story for another time. The woman I had always liked told me this, and I'm getting married soon. Everything darkened in front of me. She was the only person who supported me at a difficult period in my high school years. Even though I didn't feel like going, I went to the reunion merely to see her. She appeared content, thinking of someone else, just as I was ready to finally admit my thoughts after all these years. Could that be the one you're getting married to? In a way, I could never have predicted. My worst nightmares were about to materialize. What was the attitude of the person who arrived late to the after-party? You inept fool, should I terminate you? It was the same man, an old foe, who always denigrated me, both then and now. This was the start of a battle I simply couldn't leave behind. To save the person who had saved me in the past, to prevent the marriage of the lady I first loved. Danny is my name. Today is my 30th birthday, and I'm attending my high school reunion at a dining hall at a hotel. All of my former classmates have, of course, grown up and become grown-ups, but upon closer inspection, I could still discern remnants of their former selves. This is fascinating, I thought, but then I heard a voice behind me. Danny, I'm so glad you came. Hey, hello. The woman was tall and wearing a dress that was navy blue. She looked smart because of her almond-shaped eyes and pale skin. She was flawlessly beautiful, with crisp, well-defined features. Her long, glossy hair, however, was much more alluring than her model-like features. It dropped, nearly incandescent, past her shoulder blades. What's wrong, he? Please don't claim that you didn't recognize me. The stunning woman laughed as I greeted her abruptly. Her dark hair waved gently as she giggled. I couldn't help but follow her hair with my gaze because it was so gorgeous. It was hard to concentrate on the discussion. Even other students who were around and casually conversing were occasionally staring at her. To be honest, I'm a little let down. You don't seem to feel the same way, even though I'm thrilled to see you. I apologize. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Danny, it's been a long time. Yeah, it really has. I greeted my high school classmate hesitantly. Anna is her name. I came to this reunion just to see her, nothing else. Danny, I saw you talking to Anna earlier. A friend said as Anna left, saying, I'll see you later. My students instantly around me and voiced their displeasure, saying things like, that's not fair, and you're so lucky. Anna was, after all, the object of every boy's desire in high school. Sorry, I just need to go to the restroom for a moment, I said. I felt uncomfortable being the center of attention, so I quickly slipped out of the banquet hall. I'm already tired. I'm really not cut out for places like this. I found a quiet corner in the hallway where no one would come. Finally able to take a breath, I remembered back in high school, I used to do the same thing, finding places where no one else was around just to avoid my classmates. Remembering that didn't exactly fill me with joy. In times like these, it was always Anna who would manage to find me. Talented, beautiful, smart, and athletic. A perfect honor student who was friendly with everyone. Honestly, she was way out of my league. If it weren't for Anna, I definitely wouldn't have come here. It all started about a month ago. I work at a small and medium-sized IT company. I was scheduled to meet the representative from the new client company for the first time. During our business negotiations, we exchanged business cards. As we did, we both said, "Wait," in surprise, "Could it be? Danny? Anna, is that you?" Incredibly, the client was an old classmate from high school, and not just any classmate, but someone I remembered particularly well. "This is unbelievable," I said. "I never thought I'd run into you like this," Danny Anna murmured with a hint of nostalgia, her sharp eyes softening. Seeing her looking even more beautiful than before, I completely forgot we were here for work. Anna started the conversation with me, saying, "Oh, by the way, Danny, are you going to the reunion?" "The reunion?" "Our high school one. I already RSVP'd. But how about you?" Well, honestly, I'd forgotten all about the invitation postcard until she mentioned it. I had no intention of going, so the reunion wasn't even on my radar. But I'd be happy if you came too, Danny. "I'll go," I said. Before I knew it, the words just slipped out. When she lit up and said, "Really?" I instantly regretted my impulsiveness, though it turned out to be the right choice. "Anna, and what's up, Danny?" Never mind." I ended up graduating from high school without ever telling her those words. Each time we met for work, I tried to say it, but I could never muster the courage, letting time slip by. I'm glad I decided to go after all. I feel like I might actually be able to say it tonight. I've always struggled with social situations and expressing my feelings, but I decided to take advantage of the relaxed atmosphere of the reunion. If the conversation flowed naturally, maybe the right moment would come up. All right, I can do this. Tonight's the night. Pep-talking myself, I headed back into the banquet hall. I watched for a chance when Anna, constantly surrounded by classmates, might be alone. That moment finally came during the second round at the bar, halfway through. "Sorry I couldn't talk with you sooner. I'm the one who invited you after all." As she sat beside me in the corner of the room, Anna looked apologetic. I'd been sipping on drinks alone, waiting for a chance to talk with her, so the alcohol was already hitting me. Feeling the weight of my own hesitation, I felt all the more pathetic. It was my fault, yet here she was, apologizing to me. All I had to do was ask her to talk one-on-one from the start, but without the courage to do so, I'd wasted hours just brooding, just like back in high school. "No, I'm the one who should be apologizing," I said. "Why should you apologize?" she asked. "You don't seem yourself." "Really?" "That's right. Where's that composed, Danny?" "From work, you always answer any question right away. Even when there's trouble, you handle it calmly and flawlessly. I really respect that about you. Thanks." It wasn't just the alcohol. I could feel my face heating up uncontrollably. Her words were as straightforward and sincere as ever, just like back then. Back in those days, I couldn't handle how dazzling she was. I couldn't take her words at face value. "Ah, there you are, Danny." Whenever I was alone, Anna would always find me, even if I was at the farthest edge of the school. In high school, I never fit in with others and was always by myself. The classroom felt uncomfortable, and while I could tolerate it during classes, I couldn't stand being there even a minute during lunch. I would sneak away to eat in a quiet, deserted spot every day. "Hey, mind if I join you for lunch?" At some point, a girl from my class started joining my daily escape. She was a model student class president, and rumored to be the most beautiful girl in school. Always bright and cheerful, she was the opposite of my brooding, solitary self. Why? I couldn't help but ask bluntly. Anna, without seeming to notice, made a small gesture as if thinking, saying, Because I can't pretend not to notice, she said with a smile as if it was nothing. Ha. Well, I am the class president. I can't just ignore a classmate eating alone, you know. That's a personal choice, isn't it? Oh, that right there. Ha, you always have your own opinions, Danny. It must be because you're so smart. I think it's really cool. I couldn't say anything. No one had ever complimented me so honestly, then or since. Feeling my face suddenly heat up, I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't respond to anything she said. In the end, I mostly ignored her, but she still came to find me every day after that. Anna. What is it, Danny? Anna tilted her head slightly, just like she used to back then. As she did, her hair flowed smoothly, and it was so beautiful that I couldn't help but feel my heart skip a beat. Just when I finally calmed down, my face was starting to feel hot all over again. Thank you for back in high school. At last, I managed to say what I'd come here to say. I wanted to thank her for being the one person who showed me kindness back then. This was why I had been watching for a chance to speak with her all night. Sorry it took me so long to say this. Even if you did it out of a sense of duty as class president, I was grateful. It meant a lot knowing someone cared, Danny. Because Anna was there, my high school life wasn't completely dark. I can say there were good memories too, only because of Anna's overly caring kindness at a time when I didn't have room to care about anyone else. I secretly respected her for being so different from me. Secretly, Anna. What is it, Danny? I could feel the words right there, but I just couldn't get them out. Suddenly, Anna stood up slightly. Hey, your face is completely red. Hold on, I'll get you some water. Ah, no, that's not it. I tried desperately to find the words to stop her, to keep her from leaving. But just then, as she moved, her hair swayed like a gentle wave. Your hair. Ha, your hair. It's really beautiful, you know. Ha ha. Laughing awkwardly, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind, practically sounding like a weirdo. She didn't say anything. Sorry for saying that out of the blue. That must have come off as creepy. Really. I'm sorry. Anna froze with a serious expression, and I hurriedly apologized. So is this the end of my years-long unrequited love? Feeling dejected inside, I cautiously glanced at her face. I'm happy. I love it most when someone compliments my hair. To my surprise, she was smiling, her cheeks faintly flushed. The expression on her face, combined with her usual cool demeanor, was so adorable that it took my breath away. And at that moment, I thought to myself, I really do love her. The long hair suits me, doesn't it? He always says it looks beautiful on me. Her words hit me like a punch to the head, but the shock didn't stop there. Yes, I'm getting married soon. With a radiant, happy smile, the woman I'd been in love with all these years announced her engagement. Congratulations. Thank you. He couldn't make it to the reunion because of work, but he said he'll come pick me up when the after-party's over. I see. What? Amidst the overwhelming shock, I fixated on her mention of the reunion. If not for work, he would have been here. So that means, Anna, your fiancé is he someone from high school? Just as I was about to ask, someone suddenly tapped me on the shoulder from behind. Hey, Danny, thanks for keeping Anna company. The man turned a cheerful smile toward me. As I looked back in surprise, he was impeccably dressed in a well-tailored suit with a modern aura and the kind of good looks anyone would notice in an instant. Everything clicked, and I felt the blood drain from my face. Anna, your fiancé is Leo. Hey, don't get too familiar. Once I take over as president, you'll be the first person I fire. Got it? I fell silent. His voice was low and venomous, a far cry from his earlier friendly tone as he whispered near my ear, pressing his hand painfully on my shoulder. "Well, got anything to say, Danny? Worthless little employee. Sorry." Leo and I were high school classmates, both in the same senior year class, but now our positions couldn't be more different. The reason is, Leo's father is the president of the company I work for. "What are you two chatting about over there?" When Anna tilted her head, Leo immediately let go of me. He sat beside her and wrapped his arm around her shoulders with a cheerful smile. "Oh, just saying how happy I am to see Danny here tonight." "Is that so? Now that I think about it, you two work at the same company. What a coincidence." "Exactly. You know, Danny's always been brilliant, even back in high school. He's incredible at work, too. I rely on him all the time. I'm so grateful to my dad for hiring him." I was speechless. Leo had always been like this. He had a perfect public image, charming and friendly, the ideal student on the surface. But beneath that facade, man, just having this guy around ruins the whole class vibe, doesn't it? People like you, who can't handle social situations, shouldn't even bother coming to school, right, Danny? That voice still rings in my ears as if it were yesterday. In high school, I had extreme difficulty communicating with others and ended up isolated. Leo, as the ringleader of his group, had decided I would be their target. Whenever Anna or the teachers weren't around, he and his friends would circle me, throwing insults and laughing at my expense. Upset? Ha. Go ahead, tell someone if you can. Not that anyone would ever bother listening to you. Leo's words left a deep scar on my heart. Knowing I had no allies only made me withdraw further into my shell. I figured college would be more of the same, so I skipped it and went straight into the workforce after graduation. At my current company, though, I got lucky. So life's been hard for you up until now, hasn't it? Our company president, Mr. Sabin Klein, showed me understanding and went out of his way to make sure I was comfortable in my work. But that changed. Well, who'd have thought you'd end up working here? I'll make sure my dad doesn't fire you for old time's sake. You'd better be grateful, high school grad. This happened last year. Suddenly, our company was bought out by another firm, and Mr. Klein had to step down. The new president was the president of the acquiring company, Mr. Kirkland, and to my misfortune, the president's son, Leo, also became my new colleague. Leo was the same classmate from high school, the one who had left me with scars that still hadn't healed. The new president, Mr. Kirkland, was like an amplified version of Leo's worst traits. He played favorites with Leo, his own people, and a select few employees, while others were openly neglected. Needless to say, I fell into the unfavored category and was suddenly reassigned to a new department under Miles, one of Mr. Kirkland's cronies, who called me the most useless guy in sales and insulted me daily. Without any allies, I found myself an outcast again, just like in high school. So you probably heard by now, Anna and I are getting married. As a friend and colleague, you're happy for us, right, Danny? Leo grinned, still holding Anna close, just as he always did. Rebuking Miles with, "Come on, that's too much," only to turn around and hurl insults at me when no one else was around. Anna looked at him, cheeks blushing with happiness, smiling as she gazed back into his eyes. I couldn't even bring myself to reply. My silence must have annoyed him. Losing his patience, Leo accidentally let his true self slip out in front of her. "Hey, don't ignore me, you slug. Having gone to high school with you is the biggest embarrassment of my life. Remember this tomorrow at work. Got it?" "Leo, how could you say that to Danny?" "Oh, come on. I was just joking. That's just how we talk at work. Come on, let's head out." Despite Anna looking back at me a few times, Leo firmly led her away. Left alone, I was too stunned to process anything, sitting there in shock until the after-party ended. A few days after that disastrous end to the reunion, while I was still in shock, I found myself meeting with Anna again. "I'm so sorry you had to come all this way. I really appreciate it." "No problem," I replied. There had been an issue with a system we delivered to her company, and they asked me to come and fix it. It turned out to be a quick fix, but then, as always, "Danny, you're amazing. I feel I can always count on you." "Thanks. Actually, I wanted to apologize about what Leo said that night." "Oh no, it's fine." I was shocked to learn about her engagement and crushed by who she chose. But it seemed Anna had been just as shaken by hearing her fiancé speak to me like that. Still looking uncertain, she wasn't her usual cheerful self. I also didn't know how to respond to her, and an awkward silence hung between us. "I'm really sorry. He's not usually like that," she said, but it didn't exactly sound like a complete joke either. "It was just a joke, that's all. That's just the vibe in the office sometimes." I really just wanted to lift Anna's spirits, even a little. With that in mind, I lied to her. In truth, Leo often goes far beyond harmless jokes when he's around me. Fortunately, it seemed to work. Anna's expression softened slightly, looking relieved. Then, out of nowhere, she clasped her hands together toward me. "Danny, would it be too much to ask, but could you tell me more about Leo?" "Wait. What?" "Actually, I've been a little worried lately." And with that, she began sharing her concerns with me. She told me how they'd both been so busy recently that they hardly spent any time together. Every time she suggested a date, he turned her down, and she felt like she couldn't understand what he was thinking anymore. She admitted she was beginning to feel anxious. Of course, he's as kind as ever, but whenever I share my worries, he just says, "You'll be the president's wife someday, so stay confident." But I don't even feel that reality sinking in yet. I see. Is he really someone she should marry? The words were right on the tip of my tongue, but I swallowed them down. Even so, she loves Leo enough to choose marriage with him. Seeing that brought a sharp pang of pain to my chest. I'm sure he's working hard. He will be the president one day after all. Since you're both in sales, how's he doing? Yeah, his performance is really good." "Really?" "Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, Leo's talent is genuine. With his strong communication skills, he consistently ranks among the top in monthly sales performance. That's why no one suspects the darker side of him." "Anything else?" Sorry, but I really need to get back to work." Anything else I could say would only hurt her. Since I consciously avoid Leo as much as possible, I had little else I could share. Yet, when a woman you care for seeks your help, you feel compelled to step up. From the next day on, I started paying closer attention to Leo's behavior. If I could catch him being kind to others, maybe that would reassure Anna. Then, I saw a side of Leo I could have never predicted. With such a beautiful woman, I'd worry about you going home alone. How about I give you a ride tonight? Maybe we could spend a little time together, just the two of us. When I saw that scene, I could hardly believe my eyes. There was Leo in the office kitchenette, standing close to a new female employee who had just joined this year. He had his arm around her waist, leaning into her as he suggested a date. "All right then, see you later." I was in shock. Sensing him about to leave, I quickly slipped away from the area. My heart was pounding, about to burst, yet my mind remained strangely clear, picturing Anna's face. What am I supposed to do about this? I just hoped I had misinterpreted the situation. To be sure, I discreetly checked around to see if anyone else had noticed anything. Unfortunately, what I learned only confirmed what I had seen. Leo? Oh yeah, lots of rumors about him. You didn't know? He's got quite the reputation in a bad way. But he's the future president, so no one dares to say anything publicly. People spoke of him with bitter expressions, prefacing each confession with "Please don't say I told you." Apparently, Leo had a habit of hitting on young female employees, inviting them on dates indiscriminately. And to make things worse, He was hiding the fact that he was engaged. What the hell? I had known Leo wasn't the kind of good-hearted person Anna believed him to be, but his level of cruelty exceeded even what I had imagined. I felt a surge of blinding anger. Still, she kept asking, "So how's Leo lately? We haven't seen each other much, but I hope he isn't overworking himself." Just a few days later, after a routine meeting, Anna invited me to lunch and asked about him again. "Yeah, he's doing well. Just really busy these days." "Is that so? Well, I'm glad he's okay. Thanks, Danny." Yeah, I couldn't stand to see her face clouded with sadness because of anything I might say. So once again, I lied to her. But then, one day, I finally reached my limit. Engaged? Oh boy, who told you that? I heard these words echoing from the hallway late one evening when I was the last one in the office. A sinking feeling formed in my gut as I quietly peeked out into the hall. Then, I heard it. "I'm only getting married because my parents insist. I don't have any romantic feelings. You're the only one I care about." A 30-year-old woman is too old for me to even consider her as a woman. Yet she keeps wanting to meet up every day. She's so clingy. And on top of that, she's a burden. She should look in the mirror before saying such things. With his arm around the shoulder of a younger female employee, Leo spoke those words. It was clear, even without him mentioning her name, who he was talking about. His fiancée, the 30-year-old woman. I'm glad Leo's doing well. I could see Anna's gentle, relieved smile in my mind's eye. All this time, while she'd been worrying over him, Leo was, this is ridiculous. Leo, completely oblivious to my presence, ran his fingers through the younger woman's hair, smiling tenderly at her with every smug gesture. My anger only intensified, and finally, I couldn't hold it back any longer. You know, long hair really only looks good on younger women. When older women try to grow it out, it just looks sloppy. I only compliment her to keep her happy. She should be able to figure that out by now. Does she still think she's young? It's just pathetic. Honestly, I regret ever getting engaged. Enough. I rushed out into the hallway, only to have a female employee shriek and scurry away. Leo looked shocked as I grabbed him by the collar and shoved him against the wall with all my strength. Danny, what the hell do you think you're doing? That's my line, Anna. You have any idea what she's, and you. I was so furious I could barely articulate what I wanted to say, but I pressed Leo harder against the wall, forcing out what I could. How much Anna cares for you. Ever since the reunion, all she's talked to me about has been you. She takes such care of her hair because she loves it when you compliment it. And yet you. But my words didn't faze him in the slightest. Get your hands off me, you pathetic loser. Leo sneered. Look at my suit. It's all wrinkled now. Do you even know how much this costs? You couldn't afford a custom-made suit like this on your pathetic salary, could you? Leo brushed off the collar of his suit with his hand, inside dramatically saying, "Good grief." Then his face twisted into a sinister grin. Oh, could it be? Do you want my fiancé for yourself? What, you seem to be having a real good time chatting with Anna, didn't you? So that's it. The useless employee actually has the nerve to go after the future president's fiancé. Impressive, Danny. No, it's not like that. I've cared about her for a long time. Well, whatever. If you want her, you can have her. My leftovers. She may look decent, but she's just an old, uptight, and suffocating woman. Actually, she's perfect for someone as worthless as you. And you know what? Turns out those high school grades are useless in the real world. Huh. You used to walk around as if you were the smartest guy on earth. And now look at you. A high school grad with a dead-end job. Honestly, the former president, Mr. Clean, must have been an idiot to keep you in development. My dad was absolutely right to fire him. Ha ha. Laughing loudly, Leo walked away, clearly pleased with himself. I was left standing alone, my hand instinctively reaching into my chest pocket. Good thing I remembered this. Soon afterward, I was removed from the Anna account when Leo came over, smirking and saying, "Tough luck." I could tell it was probably one of his spiteful tricks, but what hurt more than the job transfer was the reality that I wouldn't be seeing Anna anymore. I see. Such a shame. I really enjoyed working with you, Danny. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't bring myself to look at her sad expression. I finished our last meeting with her in silence. Thanks for everything, Danny. I'll send you an invitation to the wedding. You have to come, she said with a cheerful smile, extending her hand. And at that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. Don't do it. What? Don't marry him, Leo is. He's a horrible person. What? What are you saying, Danny? She stared at me in shock. I spilled everything. How Leo was cheating with countless young women at the office. How rumors had spread quietly. And how most employees had already lost faith in him as the company's future president. I told her how he'd been harassing me behind the scenes. And there's more. Gathering all my courage, I told her about the conversation I overheard recently. Leo already has no real intention of marrying Anna, so she doesn't have to marry someone like him. If she went through with this, it would only end in heartbreak. I couldn't bear to see her hurt like that. But Anna shook her head. Lies? That's horrible. Danny, why would you make something like that up? It's the truth. He's never been the person you think he is. Not even back in high school. Please trust me. Liar. Leo's always been serious, straightforward, and kind. I've watched him since back then. You know I've loved him all this time, Danny. I know him better than you ever could. Anna, please leave and don't come near me again. Her face was pale, her eyes brimming with tears, as she pointed shakily toward the door. With the room spinning around me, I mustered the last bit of strength I had, pulling an object from my chest pocket and placing it on the table. I'll leave this here. What's this? Is it a voice recorder? Yes. If you listen to it, I think you'll understand. The day I first witnessed Leo's infidelity, I felt a strong desire to save Anna. I bought the recorder and intentionally lingered near Leo, catching his comments as he invited women on dates and insulted other employees. I'd only been there during that revealing encounter by chance, but now. With a trembling hand, Anna picked up the recorder. She pressed play, and the moment the recording started, she threw it violently onto the floor. It was me who asked you to tell me about Leo, but I didn't ask you to go this far. She buried her face in her hands, and tears began to drip onto the floor. Without a word, I bent down, picked up the recorder, and set it back on the table. Then, I turned and walked toward the door. I just couldn't look the other way. What? Your words saved me once, Anna. You said I couldn't just ignore it. You were the only person who ever told me that. It meant the world to me, Danny. I just didn't want you to end up feeling the way I did. I'm sorry I overstepped. Goodbye, and take care. With those final words, I closed the door behind me. I'd hoped to leave with a smile, but who knows if I managed it. The only thing I knew for certain was that I wouldn't be smiling again anytime soon. After that, my life sank into utter darkness. Well, looks like you've lost the one thing you were good for: enthusiasm. Do you have any reason to keep showing up, Danny? I'm sorry. It won't happen again. Oh, don't worry. Honestly, I'd be grateful if you just left. There are plenty of people out there to replace a useless high school grad like you. I fell silent. I couldn't concentrate at all, making mistake after mistake, errors I would never have made before. Things had always been tense with Miles, but now he was treating me even more like an enemy. Maybe I should just quit for real. I was pushed to the brink, to the point where I seriously started considering it. Anna's words haunted me. I never want to see you again. So this is heartbreak, huh? Guess I had something left to learn. If it hurt this much, I wish I'd never learned it. Maybe Anna had felt the same way when she threw the recorder away. Now, as I sat at my desk, I wondered if what I did had really been right. Just then, "Danny, can I talk to you for a minute?" It was my colleague, who had taken over Anna's account from me. "What's up?" Anna asked me to give this to you." Ha! I took the note he handed me, barely able to believe it. On it was written, "Danny, I'm sorry about that day." A few days later, I went to the bar mentioned in her note, where Anna was already waiting. As soon as I sat down beside her, she bowed her head deeply. After that day, I listened to the recorder. I couldn't believe it, but I also knew you would never lie just to hurt someone. Yeah, it was a shock. Everything you said was true. I wondered if she hadn't been able to sleep since then. Dark circles were clearly visible under her downcast eyes. Her usually flowing hair was pulled back, looking less vibrant than the last time I'd seen her. Even so, I couldn't help but think she's beautiful. Leo and I went to college together. When he confessed, I was so happy I could hardly believe it, even though I'd already heard rumors about his affairs. What I didn't want to believe, I kept looking the other way. And he would say things like, "Even if I cheat, you'll have to put up with it, because you will be the president's wife someday." And my parents were already asking about grandchildren. "So, you thought if you just endured it?" No. With tears threatening to spill, she gave a sad, wavering smile. "It's all just excuses. The truth is, I was afraid to let go of all those years of feelings. For over a decade, I'd only had eyes for him. Now, at 30, the thought of finding love with someone new just feels impossible. I thought that if I had to break off the engagement with Leo and face life alone, maybe it was better to just endure. And no matter what, I could never bring myself to truly hate him." With those words, tears fell as Anna finally confessed her deepest fears. In that moment, I surprised myself by saying something I hadn't expected. "That's okay." "What?" I mean your hair looks beautiful, no matter what anyone says." "It's really beautiful, really." I added that last part to cover my tracks. Anna gave a faint, bittersweet smile. "Thank you. It's nice to hear that." "It's not just your hair. You've always been beautiful, Anna. And it's not just your looks, it's your heart. You're kind, genuine, and that's what I just needed one more word to say. For years, I'd wanted to tell her I'd always loved her, but somehow the words wouldn't leave my lips. I'd spent over a decade looking only at her. I wanted to tell her that even if she left Leo, she wouldn't be alone. But seeing me fall silent, Anna gently changed the subject. "By the way, about Leo. Have you noticed anything strange with him lately?" "Huh. I've actually been wondering for a while. He's been spending extravagantly. Foreign cars, luxury watches, custom suits. He says his dad's paying for it all, and even his dad seems to live lavishly. And no offense, but Danny, your company eyes." She was right. Since Mr. Kirkland acquired our company, business had been in decline. Yet despite this, Mr. Kirkland and Leo's spending habits seemed to keep escalating. Anna had been discreetly probing me about Leo to confirm her suspicions. If I could stop him, I thought I should. As his fiancé, I wondered if maybe he was involved in something he shouldn't be. I was speechless. Anna's face clouded with worry. Taking a deep breath, I finally decided to reveal the truth I knew. Listen carefully. 1 month later, I made my way to the conference room, having heard that an emergency board meeting was being called at the company. "And so we'll be appointing my son here as the new vice president." I heard Mr. Kirkland's voice as he took a vote from the board members. At that moment, I opened the conference room door. "Excuse me." "Ha, you are Danny. What are you doing here?" "This is a board meeting." Mr. Kirkland and Leo, the latter already acting as if he were a board member, both raised their voices in surprise. Ignoring them, I walked directly to the center, facing the board members. "And who are you? What's your department?" The board's skeptical expressions were directed at me. "I'm Danny from sales," I introduced myself. Then I dropped the package I'd brought onto the table in front of them. "Please take a look at this before making any appointments. It will help you decide if Leo and Mr. Kirkland are really suitable to be in leadership positions." "What's the meaning of this?" Mr. Kirkland and Leo both fell silent, speechless. The other board members exchanged looks, murmuring in confusion. I casually handed out the packages to each of the executives. The order didn't matter at all, because every document there was proof of the Kirkland family's corruption. First, we found suspicious transfers in the company's funds. Upon investigation, we discovered that large sums were repeatedly transferred to an unrelated account under a company name that turned out to be a shell company established by Mr. Kirkland. He was in shock. Mr. Kirkland's face went pale, and the murmurs among the board members grew louder. Calmly, I continued reading out the contents of the documents. From embezzlement and bribe-taking to inflated expense claims, Mr. Kirkland and his son had exploited the company shamelessly. Their lavish lifestyle was funded by treating the company as an endless source of money. In addition, there are traces of falsified business data. The actual state of the company's finances is far worse than you may realize. Leo shot up, sweating profusely. He lunged at me, grabbing me by the collar. He shoved his face close to mine, shouting incoherently. Though it boiled down to one sentiment: someone like you, a high school grad, couldn't possibly understand this. Get real. Danny, you're disturbing the busy board members. Get out now. Yes, exactly as Leo says. I'm ordering you to pick up those worthless papers and disappear, you useless high school grad. Buoyed by his son's bold words, Mr. Kirkland regained his vigor and gave my shoulder a powerful shove. I staggered back, but then felt someone behind me, catching my fall. Turning around, I saw, "Are you all right, Danny?" "Mr. Clean." "Just call me Simon now," he replied with his familiar gentle smile. It was Simon, the former president ousted by Mr. Kirkland. It's improper to rough up your employees, especially one as talented as Danny. What's that? Have you lost your mind? Since you were fired, you pathetic loser. Simon, this guy isn't talented. He's just a burden with a high school diploma. So that's why you removed Danny from the development team. If you hadn't made that foolish move, the company's performance wouldn't have declined like this. What? As Mr. Kirkland's face twisted in confusion, I exchanged a nod with Simon, ready to reveal how I'd gathered all the evidence. Suspicious fund flows, emails requesting bribes, falsified data, all of these were tracked through a certain system. A system. Yes, it's a system created to detect any internal misconduct, like embezzlement within the company. It monitors any misuse of internal computers with a 100% detection rate without alerting the culprit. Ha, ridiculous. If such a system exists, its creator must be a genius. Mr. Kirkland scoffed at my explanation. Then Simon let out a big laugh. Ha, what's so funny? Simon, the fool here is you, Mr. Kirkland. You tossed this genius into sales and threw away the company's potential. What are you saying? The creator of that system is none other than Danny, this talented system engineer standing right here. Mr. Kirkland, Leo, and even the board members all turned their wide eyes toward me. Feeling their stares, I couldn't help but smile awkwardly, remembering the time when Simon had first called me a genius. Since I was young, I'd always felt out of place. For example, while other kids my age were excited about toys, I found no interest in them. I didn't want to play with them or talk with them. Instead, I spent my time alone, absorbed in reading encyclopedias. My parents, thinking there was something wrong with me, took me to a doctor, where they learned my IQ was close to 200. Listen, Danny, don't think of yourself as special. No matter how smart you are, you won't survive in society unless you can get along with others. Don't tell anyone about your IQ. People will think you're strange, my parents said. They apparently couldn't bear to admit that their son was different. They always told me to get along with everyone, to act like everyone else. They wanted so badly to raise me as a normal child, and outside. I felt that everyone around me was much younger mentally, making it impossible to fit in. Thus, I spent my days isolated at home and in school. Eventually, in my final year of high school, I decided to go against my teacher's advice and enter the workforce. If I couldn't connect with people my age, I figured I might as well join the adult world sooner, because I felt that by doing so, I might meet someone who would truly understand me. And I did. Wow, you taught yourself programming? That's incredible. You're a real genius. In high school, if Anna was the first person to show me kindness, then Simon was the first person to truly acknowledge me. During the interview, he was the only one who genuinely listened to what I had to say, and despite opposition from others, he hired me as a system engineer. It must have been tough for you all this time, but you pushed through it. That's something remarkable, Danny. I was speechless. It's not just your smarts I admire, your resilience. I'll do everything I can as president to make this company a place where you can thrive. Just be yourself and do your best here. Okay. Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Clean. That was the first time I ever cried in front of someone. Simon kept his promise. Knowing I struggled with social interactions, he issued a presidential order allowing me to skip company parties and social gatherings. He also personally bridged the gap between me and my colleagues. With his support, I was able to focus entirely on my work, achieving success in developing groundbreaking systems. With those accomplishments, I finally started gaining recognition from my colleagues and took on a major project, the development of a system to detect internal corporate fraud. The project was promising, and we were certain it would make waves and propel the company forward. But just as we reached that critical moment, the company was bought out, and Simon stepped down. Under the new president, Mr. Kirkland's dismissal view that someone with only a high school diploma couldn't possibly develop systems, I was transferred to the sales department. So you finished it on your own, Danny? Simon, with a deeply moved expression, placed a hand on my shoulder. I placed my hand over his and nodded. It's still in the prototype stage, and I couldn't have gotten this far alone. My team in development helped me behind the scenes, staying hidden from Mr. Kirkland, so the team's been helping too. I'm sorry if I'd been quicker. Maybe we could have prevented the buyout. It's all right. Thanks to this, certain people here have just proven your talent in the most dramatic way possible. Isn't that right, Simon? Simon, who was always calm, shot a sharp glare. Mr. Kirkland and Leo both turned pale, dropping to the floor in shock. As the two sat there in disbelief, several of the board members stood up and surrounded them. Then Tyler turned to me and Simon. Danny, we'd like to hear the full details. Can you explain? Yes, we'll also have Simon join us in the following meetings. It looks like he'll be returning as our president. Of course, when Simon gave a big nod, Mr. Kirkland finally lost his last bit of resolve and slumped his shoulders in defeat. Seeing this, Leo weakly murmured, Dad, I'm sorry. I'll tell you everything. He too slumped in despair. After that, Mr. Kirkland's misconduct was exposed, and he was removed from his position on the board. His favorite employees went into a panic, and since the majority of them had been involved in misconduct, they were all dismissed, along with Leo. With the arrogant Kirkland faction purged, the office atmosphere improved dramatically under the new presidential order from Simon, who had been reinstated as president. I was back in the systems development department, welcomed warmly by my colleagues. With the backing of Tyler and others who now respected my abilities, I was unanimously promoted to project manager. Now my team and I are steadily, albeit gradually, bringing the company's performance back on track together. Eventually, the Kirkland father and son were arrested for embezzlement and various other crimes. With a guilty verdict certain, it looks like they'll be serving time to atone for their actions. But when they're released, they'll still face a massive compensation debt to the company to atone for everything. It will likely take almost a lifetime. First off, well done, Danny. After Leo's issues were finally put to rest, I met up with Anna again at that bar. There she was, waiting for me at the counter with her long haircut, short ending at her neck. It's quite a change, isn't it? Everyone keeps asking, did something happen? Oh, well, yeah. Even though her fiance's arrest was a huge, life-altering event, Anna looked surprisingly refreshed, almost radiant. The reason soon became clear. I broke it off. I ended things with Leo myself. What? Just before he was arrested, he came to see me begging, "If you love me, hide me." When I saw him like that, I was completely over it. I couldn't believe I'd loved someone like that for so long, when there were so many better people out there. What about those last words? She looked directly into my eyes, and my heart thumped harder than ever before. Should I grow my hair out again? No, it's beautiful even short, really. Thank you. Then let's toast to both of us. Sheer with a bright smile, she clinked her glass against mine. That gesture, that expression, it was so beautiful. I couldn't look away, and once again, that feeling stirred within me. Anna, hey Danny, what did you mean when you said that's okay? You told me that here, in this bar. I've been curious ever since. Well, tell me please. Gradually, her body leaned closer to me. Her refined features and beautiful short hair were now so close I could almost touch them. And finally, I had no choice but to confess. No matter who you love, I think I'll always love you. That's what I wanted to say. You think? No, I mean, definitely. Even if you married someone else, would you be okay with that? No, I don't want you to marry anyone else. For once, the words came out honestly and effortlessly. And as if she'd been waiting for it, a single tear fell onto my hand. All right, I won't. With her eyes full of tears, Anna smiled gently. I placed my hand over hers. Anna, would you date me with marriage in mind someday? When her wounds are fully healed, I'll propose to her for real, not, I don't want you to be with anyone else. I'd say, please marry me, because I'm sure she would nod with that radiant smile of hers, just like she does now. I believe that any object or person must be placed in its rightful place in order to shine with its true brilliance. I know a woman who ended a love that brought her only sadness, even though she loved deeply. Now she's more radiant than ever before. Perhaps it's because I am that place where she belongs. Could I dare to believe that? And I too have finally returned to a place where I can fully utilize my abilities. Now each day feels bright and fulfilling, as if the future itself is shimmering before me. If these days continue, I plan to give my all, holding nothing back, putting forth my very best effort.